Hello everyone. I found many variations of new smiling critters, and today we're going to talk about just those. Let's start with the less common ones, and with each new smiling critters we'll get closer to the most likely ones. Our favorites are Star Scout, Pixel Rat, Panda Bamboo, and Snowflake Foxflake. Star Scout is known for her phenomenal ability to create little stars to light the way in dark places in the new chapter. Pixel Rat is a very modest girl, but her heart is always open to everyone and she will do anything for her friends. And that can help us a lot in this new chapter. Panda Bamboo will be the one who can help us the most because she is the most trained and strongest character of the smiling critters, and to be honest, she is the one I would most like to see in the 4th chapter. And Snowflake Foxflake will only appear as an anti-hero in the new chapter, because she has a very unique ability to freeze all the other characters, and it would be really exciting to fight against her. Well, now let's talk about the more serious versions of the new smiling critters. The first one I would like to pay attention to is CutieSuzy. She is a very friendly panda who at first glance uses philosophical phrases, telling us that the world is not only black and white. She also shows her kindness and says that she would be glad to show us the way, but after that her speech is interrupted by some interference, and what she wanted to tell us next remains a mystery to us. Perhaps she wanted to warn us of the approaching danger, or maybe it was the other way around and she wanted to trap us. What do you think CutieSuzy was trying to tell us? The next character we will see in the new Smiling Critters lineup is Sweet Sheep. This is one of the most interesting characters in my opinion. So what is Sweet Sheep? She is a sheep that is quite different from the rest of the characters, because she doesn't talk to us in a nice way. She talks tough and straightforward. From her cardboard we learn that she was pre-Catnap, but what could that mean? Maybe she was Prototype's assistant before Catnap, or maybe Sweet Sheep was a supervisor at Playcare before Catnap and also had some kind of superpower that the kids liked a lot. She also tells us that the new smiling critters are too bright and then asks us to turn off the lights, telling us that you can see a lot more detail in the dark. What's your impression of this character? The next member of the new smiling critters lineup is LittleSkittle. This is a squirrel who is very lonely. From her cardboard we learn that someone is always following her, but when she tries to find them, they immediately disappear. Further into the conversation, she has a tantrum. She can't understand why she is alone, and she tells us that she is about to start eating herself. At the end of the conversation, she says she hates this place and herself. Another prospective member of the new smiling critters is Moody Moose, a moose who seems to be very shy. We learn from his cardboard that he can't even remember his name when asked. We also learn that he seems to be new here. He doesn't even know what this place is. He also tells us that he is homeless and asks for a bed. His speech, like all the others, is cut short by screams. The next new member of Smiling Critters that we can also expect to see in the 4th chapter is Crocky Rocky, who, as we can see from his cardboard, is a green dinosaur who offers us to be cool. Also from him we learn that he and Kickin' Chicken are brothers, and they were the coolest kids. Also he tells us about the situation with Bobby Bearhug, how they locked him in the closet. Later his speech is also cut short by a horrible scream. The next character is Riddle Roo, who appears to be a kangaroo. From her cardboard we learn that she is a collector of various things. She then decides to show us something from her collection, and it turns out to be human fingers. Her conversation, like all the previous characters, ends with a scream. I have one more character. This is Griffy Gingers. From his cardboard we learn that he is an avid joker. He once pranked Miss Delight by putting a sharp pin on her chair. Then he offers us to help him with his best prank, namely to hang a bucket of water over Miss Delight's office door so that when she opened the door the water would pour over her head. From the conversation we also learn that he got into Miss Delight's office and that she was doing something with her sisters. As you can guess, his conversation also ended with her screaming. Another one I'd like to name is Tiggy Tiger. When we meet his cardboard, he offers us to be friends and spend time together. Then he asks where his friends from Smiling Critters are. Then his mood changes abruptly, and Tiggy Tiger tells us that he hates them for leaving him and that his revenge will be harsh. And at the end of his speech we hear terrible screams. The next newcomer to Smiling Critters is Snidey Spidey. He is, as you might have guessed, a spider. From his cardboard we learn that he likes to scare people. He tells us that when he sees scared faces it makes his blood boil. His speech, like the previous newcomers, also ends with a scream. Another newcomer is Bully Bolito, who immediately brags to us about his strength. He tells us to exercise to become as strong as him. In his conversation he mentions Crafty Corn and tells us about his affection for her. His conversation also ends with shouting. And now I suggest we get to the equally interesting part, which is that I offer you my theories about the new Smiling Critters lineup. First of all, I would like to present not even a theory, but my expectation. Namely that we will most likely see a new cartoon about them, and in it, we will see not only a new cast, but also the one we were introduced to in the 3rd chapter. Because as we have already learned from their cardboards, they all know each other. Some of them are even related to each other. In case you forgot, Crocky Rocky mentioned that his brother is Kickin' Chicken. My first theory is that the new cast of Smiling Critters in the 4th chapter will already be the main characters. I think they will be in some way like Catnap, the servants of Prototype. They will do his bidding and keep the whole Playcare territory in fear, especially those who won't obey their god. Hence, we are likely to see new locations, because it would be strange if the locations remain the same and there will be so many new characters. I have one more theory, and it is that after the Hour of Joy, Prototype left alive only Catnap and chained Dog Day to the cage, and all the other Smiling Critters, both new and familiar to us, he killed and left only their mini versions. My next theory is not about all Smiling Critters, but about two brothers, namely Kickin' Chicken and Crocky Rocky, and it is that they escaped after the Hour of Joy and are hiding somewhere in Playcare territory or not far beyond it, and maybe in the new chapter we will see their reunion. After all, as we know from Kickin' Chicken's cardboard, he wanted to escape very badly, and I think he wouldn't have left his brother behind in this nightmare, and would have brought him with him. And that's not all. The next theory is that the Smiling Critters that we haven't seen in the game will appear in the game to avenge Prototype for his old friends. They will have a fight, but they will lose it. Thus, Prototype will become even stronger and closer to the fulfillment of his plan, which gives us hope that we will see not only his arm, but his whole body at the end of the 4th chapter. But do not forget that maybe they will not show all of them, as it was Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, but for example, they will leave only one of them alive, and he will tell us what happened to the others. So for example, I see Snidey Spidey as the survivor. Even when listening to his cardboard, we can hear his cruelty, because he tells us that his blood boils when he sees the frightened faces of people, so he could easily become one of the main antagonists in the 4th chapter and help Prototype in the execution of his plan. I think a lot of you enjoyed Crafty Corn. For truly, I can't find a single flaw in her. She was kind, sweet, and also really liked to draw. But you're going to say, what does Crafty Corn have to do with the new Smiling Critters? Actually, one of the monsters in the new cast has a thing for our unicorn, and I'm talking about the rather formidable Bully Bullito, and it is their story together that can be told in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. As we progress through the game, we'll make our way to a new location that has been destroyed by someone. I'll tell you later, of course, who the bully was who did it. So after we find ourselves in a new location, that after a few minutes we will hear the screams of help. As soon as we get closer, we will immediately see a familiar silhouette in the window, and it will be Crafty Corn, who will be desperately trying to get someone out of the rubble. When Crafty Corn sees us, she will ask for our help. Seeing that our unicorn really sincerely asks for help and not trying to trap us, we will immediately try to help her. And after we remove some debris, a huge horn will appear in front of our eyes and red wool around it. This is how we will meet Bully Bullito. After that, between us and these two Smiling Critters will begin a dialogue from which we will gradually learn who is the Prototype and for what purpose he tried to subjugate all the Smiling Critters. We also learn more information about Catnap and why he became one of the few who trusted the Prototype. And by the way, remember I promised to tell you about the one who destroyed the location where we found Bully Bullito. Well, it was Catnap, and he only did it to kill our bull. And since Smiling Critters have been living on Playtime Cobburn territory for a long time, they obviously know this area much better than we do, and it is Crafty Corn and Bully Bullito who will be our companions throughout the game. And this will last until we meet the Prototype. And during the battle with him, our brave Smiling Critters will be on our defense and unfortunately will be killed by the Prototype or by one of his new assistants. And now I want to present you my favorite theory. Remember in the beginning of the video I mentioned such a character as Sweet Sheep, which according to him, was before Catnap. So I think that in the new part she will be Prototype's assistant. She as well as Catnap will have some kind of superpower. I hope that this ability will be much cooler than the already familiar cat. I also expect that we will be shown a VHS tape about Sweet Sheep in which we will be told why she was replaced by Catnap. I assume that there was some incident that caused this replacement. But of course there is a possibility that the developers will add new Smiling Critters gradually, not all at once, while revealing their stories in more detail. But I have a sad theory, and it is that we will not see them as characters. Maybe we will be shown their cardboards in Chapter 4 to tell us that they are there, but that's it. Of course, like many of you would like to know more about the new Smiling Critters lineup. I would like them to tell us the story of the Prototype incident and why Catnap became like this. But I think that this information will be revealed to us as we get closer to the release of the new version of the game. So what's your opinion on the new Smiling Critters? Who did you like the most, and who on the contrary did not like at all? Be sure to leave your opinion in the comments, I'll be glad to read it, and also write your theories about the new Smiling Critters lineup, I'll be very interested to hear it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to be the first to know about all the news from the world of Poppy Playtime.